Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Village Laguna's June meeting. I'm rushing the year already. And I'm Ann Kane, President of Village Laguna, and very happy to be able to welcome our guest, our new city manager, Sheree Dupuy. And we invited her here to speak about her vision for Laguna and her ideas and plans, whatever she might want to tell us about. And, she was our assistant city manager. And so she's had time to kind of get to know our community and know both our special and unique issues and some of the, we have some of the same problems everyone has, but we also have some very special things. And so she's gotten her feet wet, as it were, and is ready to just jump right in. When I sent out the message for this meeting, I invited people to send in questions or topics they would like her to cover. And so I went ahead and forwarded those to her. And so hopefully she'll be covering most of, although there were quite a few, so I'm not sure. We can't keep her here till 10 o'clock tonight, but there's a lot to talk about. If you have ideas or questions while she's speaking, you can put it into the little chat. I don't know, the chat device here on Zoom, or you can wait till the end of the meeting and ask her yourself, and we'll take as many questions as we have time for, because we don't want to run too long, and we want to cover as much as we can. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Sheree and listen to all the things you have to say. And again, thank you so much for joining us.
Sure. Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for inviting me to be here today. I wish I was there in person with all of you, but when Anna and I were trying to organize this meeting together, we weren't sure what the regulations were going to be after June 15th, so we went with the Zoom option. But hopefully I get to see many of you in person tomorrow in the City Council chambers, and we are excited to have an in-person meeting. So I'm really honored and I feel very privileged to be your new city manager. A little bit about myself, just personally, I moved here in 1984 on 4th of July, actually. So in a few days, it's gonna be the anniversary of the day that I moved here with my family in 1984. And I've lived in Orange County since then. I originally lived in Laguna Hills, went to Saddleback College, and then transferred to UCI, where I got my bachelor degree in applied mathematics. And then I also minored in engineering. And when I graduated from college in 1990, I started working for the County of Orange, and I worked on all the toll roads. And at the time, they were just lying on a map. And I did a bunch of engineering to develop the alignment of the Orange County toll roads. Then I went to OCTA 5 years later. I worked for OCTA for 10 years. And really in OCTA, I got to do a lot of public works projects. I did construction, design, funding, got into legislation, worked with the OCTA board of directors. So it gave me a well-rounded background the 10 years that I was there. And then from OCTA, I went to City of Anaheim for a year. I was there only a short period of time. Unfortunately, at that time, my first husband passed away. He passed away here in Laguna Beach on Circle Drive. And after that, I took about a year off, and then I needed to take care of my family. I have a daughter that at the time was 12 years old. And after a year, then I went back to work, and I worked for City of Irvine for 7 years. And then after Irvine, I came here 5 years ago as your assistant city manager and director of public works. And I really got the opportunity to work with many of you. It's so fun to be on the Zoom call with you because I look at all the people and I've had a conversation with almost all of you. There's very few I see here that I can't say I never met or never had a conversation with. So it's fantastic that, I got to work with all of you in the last 5 years and got to really understand community perspective and community issues from all sides. And I feel that I can transition to my role pretty easily because I got to really work with all of you and many, many, many members of the community on all sides of issues. So I feel prepared. Today is the first day of my 3rd week here as the city manager. I also live in Laguna. I live in South Laguna. Many of you are my neighbors, and I see you once in a while when I'm walking around the neighborhood. And so I see Ann Christoph, I see John Thomas a lot. And so it's kind of nice to just really be part of the community. And I spend most of my weekends, in town, walking around. I rode the trolley yesterday all day because we just started trolley service again. So I wanted to check out our contractor and see, how they're doing. So it's really fantastic to be able to, and a privilege to be able to live here and work here and really get to know the issues. So Anne asked me about, my goals and what I'm planning to do. And really the first 90 days, I want to do a lot of listening. Even though I've been here for 5 years, most of you came to me with issues related like to public works and projects and some community issues. But now that I'm the city manager, I want to really listen to all the voices of our community. I want to really understand from all of you, all the people that are here tonight, and many groups just like yours, about, what are the issues that are important to you as a resident of our town. I'm having a lot of meetings. This is my probably 6th speaking engagement in the last 2 weeks. I'm also going to all of our committees. I've been to DR, PC, PTC, Heritage Committee. I'm just meeting a lot of people and listening. I don't want to be the one talking. I want to listen a lot. I also invite all the members of the community who want to come in and have one-on-one conversations with me to just come in and meet with me, give me a call, let me know when is a good time for you, and we'll coordinate a meeting. We can, walk and have coffee. I've already had coffee with a lot of residents and just listened a lot. But I know that I'm not naive to think I can meet with every resident in town. So what I plan to do in the first 90 days is also do a complete community survey. And I'm going to be working during the summer. I see 2 of my bosses are here, Councilmember Eisman and Councilmember Weiss. So I'll be working with them and also the rest of the city council on developing a community survey during the summer. And we plan to release the survey in the fall. And not only just from our residents, but we want to do a similar survey of the business community and also an employee survey. There was a lot of talk during my selection process that we needed to understand from our employees as well and what the issues are and how they look at our services. So I want to conduct all of these surveys. The employee surveys would be done during the summer. We're starting next week with the first department, which is the police department. And then after that, the rest of the city department. In fall, we do a community survey and a business survey. And then I plan to bring the results of all the surveys to City Council in a kind of a facilitated strategic planning session that would be open to the public as well, where we can share the results of the survey so they can see from our services to our projects to our priorities, what is the community want? What is it that they are telling us? How do they look at our services, everything from police and fire, public works, marine safety? What are the key goals and projects that our community want us to focus on? And then the city council during the strategic planning session can really set the 5-year goals for me to pursue with city staff. Right now, I'm busy, very busy working on the city council priorities that they discussed with me at our strategic planning session in January of this year. And I'm also, working with all of our departments, getting ready. Well, we are ready. The summer is here and the festivals are starting next week. So I'm spending a lot of time internally with department organization also to make sure that we come through the summer and providing all the services to our resident, as well as making sure the visitors are not significantly impacting the quality of life of our resident, to make sure we have enough police, marine safety, fire, public works to handle all of those issues, working with the festivals directly, also getting ready for the fire season. Just last week, we did a all hands meeting with all the department. We did a tabletop exercise at our emergency operations center where we actually practiced how we would respond as a team to a fire. And it was very helpful. We spent 4 hours in the room with all the department heads, with all the chiefs, and we have some new members. We wanted to make sure they understand how we respond to emergencies, how we work together in our emergency operations center to make sure, if God forbid, there is a fire in our town or a flood or emergency, we all know how to respond to it. So I'm kind of spending time both internally and externally, and just, making sure also is a smooth transition. We have a council meeting tomorrow night with a lot of topics. So making sure I'm managing the agenda, bringing items to council. So I'm working a lot of hours, maybe 16 to 18 hours a day, but it's fun. I still have a smile on my face. And I'm really here to hear from you and answer any questions you have. And want to really listen to you and to all the groups. And also any questions you have, you want to get to know me better or about any city projects, I'd be more than happy to answer. So Anne, with that, I didn't know if you want me to go through the questions you sent me, or do you want to ask them, or how you want me to handle?
I would think if you just want to go ahead and speak to whatever issues you think are appropriate.
Okay. So some of the questions I received today is about the status of Hotel Laguna and, where we are with that. So, it's, as you know, and you all love this building, Hotel Laguna is a historic landmark, and it's a really important issue to our community. We want to make sure that, the hotel gets restored and open in really the most efficient, and also in a way that it's in no way hurting the historicity of the building, and make sure that it's being really restored respectfully. So over the last year, we've been working with Mo Honaker and his family in making sure that they have all the permits that they need. We unfortunately had to issue 4 stop work orders as we found out that there was some work being done that was unpermitted. And right now the hotel is still under a stop work order. I know I received some emails and phone calls last Friday. I think there was an electrician on site. And actually that work on Friday was permitted by our building official because there were some exit signs that the fire marshal had looked at and needed to be fixed. So that's what we had allowed them to work on. It was just on those fire exit signs. But there's no other work right now that's occurring at the hotel. I know that the family has a lot of interest to be able to open at least the ground floor of the hotel and the restaurant. But at this time, we are not sure exactly how that's going to happen. We're going to have a discussion with the city council tomorrow and discuss with them, what it would take if they desire to open the ground floor. We have asked from the Honaker family to send us a comprehensive plan of how they're planning to use the entire hotel, so we understand the uses, and then whatever the uses are, we want to make sure that they have all the appropriate permits, whatever coastal development permits they need, whatever entitlement they need through the Planning Commission. We want to make sure that they follow that. So staff is working with the family's attorney and our attorney on this comprehensive plan to better really understand, what their entire desire is as far as the hotel. So that's the update I can give you on the hotel. And then there was some question also about the Terra restaurant. So the Terra restaurant is on the festival grounds, and it was remodeled a couple years ago. And we are working on issuing a temporary certification of occupancy for the Terra restaurant for just this summer. As part of that, we are asking them to post a bond of $20,000 to make sure that after the summer, they finish all of the permitting that is needed to make sure the project can receive, instead of a temporary certification of occupancy, that it can receive a permanent occupant certification of occupancy. So that's the status on Terra. Someone had asked me about, can you get a list of most projects on our website? And yes, if you go to our website, I think we created it end of May. There is a dedicated web page on the city's website for all of the updates. There's a link to Hotel Laguna project updates. And so it's right on the front of our website. If you guys just go to lagunabeachcity.net and you can click on Hotel Laguna update, and then it takes you there and you can see all the updates that Mo is working on, and we created a separate page for them. Someone asked me about the Coast Inn and what's the status of the Coast Inn. So at this point, the Coast Inn applicant is working with the Coastal Commission staff to get the project approved with modifications that are acceptable to the Coastal Commission. So that's on the Coast Inn project. I think one of the questions was, what ideas do I have for pulling the community together? So I think I already talked about our surveys. I think someone had an interest about maybe also having a town hall meeting in addition to the surveys. And I'm very open to that. And if you guys think that having a town hall in the fall in addition to the surveys would be useful, we'd be more than happy to organize one and do a town hall in addition to the surveys. There was a question about our new assistant city manager. So Ken Domer is our new assistant city manager. He started today. We started the recruitment process a couple months ago. We had almost 70 applicants for the position. We formed an interview panel that was consisting of one of our council members, the city manager of City of Newport Beach, and also Ashley Johnson from our Visit Laguna Beach president. And that panel interviewed, I believe it was 9 or 10 candidates. And then they recommended 2 candidates for me and our HR manager to interview, which we did. And Ken Estelle was the #1 candidate after that process. He has over 30 years of experience working for state and county and city government. Most recently, he was the Fullerton city manager for the last 4 years. Before that, he worked as the assistant city manager for the city of Huntington Beach. And in Huntington, he oversaw public works, community development, homeless programs, airport, airplane noise issues, a lot of similar issues that coastal cities have. And so we believe that the fact that he worked for a full service city that provides, police, marine safety, and fire, and the fact that he has worked for a coastal community made him the best candidate for the job. I know there were some questions about why he left Fullerton. And the Fullerton City Council majority, which is a new city council majority after the last election, and they agreed to amicably part ways. And all city managers work on a contract. So at any time, the city council can terminate a city manager contract with no cause. And so that's what the city council majority decided to do, and they went their ways in April of this year. We did a comprehensive background check on Ken, and including reference check, including discussion with the city council members that he worked on. And everybody just had glowing remarks about him and really enjoyed working with him. So we gave him a job offer, and we are very happy that he started today. And we believe that is going to be a great asset to work with our community, business community, and our residents. Let's see, what other question do you guys have? I think there was a question about how do I see the future of our town and what do I hope to accomplish. I think one of the great things about being a city manager is that I have 5 bosses, and they set the city's vision and goals and priorities, and my job is to implement them. So I'm an implementer. I don't set policies. They set policies. They tell me what the city priorities are. And sometimes, city managers get blamed for a bunch of stuff, but they're really doing what the city council majority is telling them to do. Now, of course, I have my own ethics, my own profession, my own expertise. So I try to provide city council with data and my expertise and all the department head expertise, and we provide recommendations to them. But at the end of the day, it's their job to tell us what they like to see happen in our town, and our job is to implement it. Now, I see a lot of tremendous, potential in Laguna Beach. I think that if I was going to tell you about how I see our future, is that I want to make sure that Laguna always stays unique, that we don't become Dana Point or Newport, that we always stay as Laguna Beach. But I also think that we can protect our unique environment and still evolve. And we can evolve while we are staying unique if we do really thoughtful planning and look at what we need to do to improve our town. Anything from all the way from our downtown north and south. I think there's a lot of things that we can do to improve our environment. I think there are a lot of things we can do to sustain our environment and protect it as well. Most recently, I worked with the council on a series of programs that we call the Neighborhood and Environmental Protection Plan. And as part of that, we did things like, banning plastic on our beaches and parks, banning plastic straws and to-go container on all of our public places, trying to reduce the amount of trash that visitors bring to our town and leave. So, and then we are working with Visit Laguna on a Leave No Trace campaign and make sure that when visitors come here, they respect our unique town, they respect our environment, and they leave it the same way they found it. So those are some of the priorities and goals that I've set for myself. I also want to make sure that we provide the best quality customer service to our residents. I have a strong work ethics, and I want to make sure all city employees are a true believer in providing exceptional customer service. I think that we can modernize some of our business practices and use technology to really better service our community and make sure that our employees can be efficient and effective in the way that they serve our community. So I think, Anne, I answered all the questions that you had sent me. I'm taking a look at it again. I think I answered all of them, Anne. So I'm open to answer any more. I see somebody posted something in chat. Yeah, so I'm going to answer the question. So Deborah asked me, will an academic survey research trained researcher be doing the questionnaire design, analysis, interpretation? Absolutely. We're going to hire a firm that specializes in municipal government, and they specifically specialize in working with community surveys and resident surveys and also employee surveys. So there's an organization called the National Research Center, and their acronym is NRC, and they're underneath a survey company called Polco. And Polco is a nationwide firm. They do a lot of benchmarkings. They have a database of over 300 municipalities that they've surveyed. They actually work underneath the International City Manager Association. So they are respected significantly in our industry. They understand what it means for a municipal government to do survey of the residents and businesses and employees. So we're gonna make sure that we use them to design the questionnaires, and also they're gonna do all the reporting. They did 2 surveys for us already, and I think they did one in 2007, I wanna say 15, and one before that, 10 years before. So they even have benchmarks of Laguna Beach surveys, but they have benchmarks of all the cities. So, and then I'm going to bring the survey questions that we draft with the company together to the city council. So in this way, the public also get opportunities to see the survey question and provide feedback before we actually release the survey to the community for the community survey and also for the business survey. Let's see. I have a question about any ideas about when the neighborhood trolleys will resume. Yeah, the neighborhood trolleys, our goal is to resume them in September, but we want to look at a different business model. And the reason for that was that we really didn't have high ridership. And for the last 5 years, we tried to improve the service. We look at different routing, but we really couldn't get more than 3 to 5 boarding per hour in the neighborhood trolleys that ran in the 3 neighborhoods. So we want to look at a different business model, that it's more of an on-demand service where you can use a personal app to actually use the service, and the trolley or a smaller version of a trolley or a vehicle would come and pick up people in their neighborhoods and bring them to downtown. So right now we are working on looking at a lot of different business model. We'll bring something back to the city council in August, and then hope that we can, at least pilot a new business strategy for the neighborhood trolleys in the fall. I like Al's question. It says, what do I like most about living in Laguna? So I shared a little bit of personal story with you about my brother, about my husband who passed away here. And my oldest brother also passed away in Laguna Beach in 1989. And I feel like I'm surrounded by the men of my life that I have loved forever. I've loved this town forever. Me and my brother used to come to Laguna and go to beach all the time. And then my first husband passed right by Thousand Steps Beach, on top of Thousand Steps Beach. And I feel like I'm surrounded by peace, serenity, and love. So, and the fact that I get to work here, it's incredible that I get to live here and work here. So I feel very privileged for doing that. But I love the community. I love the beauty. And I love the fact that I know so many of you. I worked for City of Irvine for 7 years, and I probably knew maybe 30 residents. The residents are just not involved in city business, and they don't even get involved in city projects. So I love the fact that I get to know all of you and work with the community. And I feel like I'm part of it, that I'm not just some, city employee that has no connection to the community. Thank you, Al. What can the city do to mitigate the impact of the pandemic on small businesses? We've done a lot. We did a grant program. I remember the council asked me last December, and they're like, oh, we want to give a grant to our small businesses. And, I actually worked on it over Christmas holiday. I remember the mayor's like, can you make sure you get the checks out after Christmas? I'm like, okay, we can do it. And I pulled a team of 6 city employees that literally worked 7 days all day long and got the grant program established and out there. But I know it was just a small amount of money. We also hired a consultant who helped the small businesses to get federal PPP loans, state loans, loans from the county through Supervisor Bartlett's office. But I know the impacts are still great. And what we are trying to do is work with the Chamber of Commerce, for example, to make sure that we can promote small businesses, to make sure our residents are shopping in town as well. So that, doing a whole promotional program of Think Laguna with the Chamber. But if you have any ideas of what else we can do, I'd be more than happy to listen. But I think we trying to do everything we can to help our small businesses, but I know it's been pretty difficult. Let's see, Deborah asked me, American Association of Public Open Research is one of the biggest research for trained serve researchers. Okay. What is the status of the parklet in downtown, as well as the impact of parking? How will the merchant as well as restaurant benefit from the plan? So the parklets are designed to be there at least till end of this year based on the council direction. But the parklets are really helping as far as people sitting in the parklets. And while they're sitting there looking at all the businesses around them, a lot of people, when you have on-street dining, they also get to walk around more and shop in the downtowns more. And, I think most of the merchants are seeing a benefit. I know recently there were some issues about the parklet on Ocean Avenue. I know Heidi had contacted some of you and she was unhappy about the parklets. But I actually met with Heidi before we installed the parklets. We showed her their location. And at the time, we thought that she was totally on board, but I know now that they've been installed, she's worried about the impact to her business. So I'm going to continue to talk to her staff and see what we can do. But one of the creative things that we thought about was that we actually worked with the property managers of the old Laguna Drugs, and next to the Union Bank building, and there's the parking lot right there, and there is 45 parking spaces in that parking lot on Ocean. And we were able to negotiate a contract with them, which the city council hopefully will approve tomorrow. It's on the consent calendar. And what that allows us to do is allows the city to use 35 of those parking spaces to manage that parking lot. They wanted to save 10 of them for the Union Bank building, but 35 of them can be open to the public on the evening and on weekends. And that's when, all the parking spaces are full in downtown. And anyone with shopper's permit then can park for free in that parking lot. So we believe that at least that provides 35 additional spaces to the residents that have a parking, that have a shopper's permit at no cost to them. So hopefully that would help some with some of the, downtown impacts from the parklets. We also worked with OCTA. You guys all remember the parking lot next to Zinc used to be used as a bus depot. and we negotiated a deal with OCTA. When that parking lot, now we were able to stripe it. We got the buses out of there for the summer, and that provides additional, I believe, either 16 or 18 spaces in that parking lot. And again, people with shopper's permit can park there for free. And then it has parking meters, for the visitors. So we try to be creative and find additional parking spaces in downtown, because I understand the concern of taking parking spaces for parklets. Let's see, the next one is, you heard the term Laguna is being loved to death. Other than leave no trace, what can we do to better mitigate the quality impact? I think some of the things we are doing this summer, hopefully you get to see it. On Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we actually have a trash picker crew. And these are guys that are going in a truck, and they come and park in your neighborhoods, and they have a yellow jacket on. And they actually walk around every evening and they pick up trash from the streets. Because we heard a lot from like Top of the Ward neighborhood, Victoria Beach neighborhood, from South Laguna, where I live on 3rd Avenue, where people, when they would come off the beach to get in their car, they leave all their trash all over. So that's one of the creative things that we started this summer, and we just started it on Memorial Day. And I actually had Reza, our Deputy Public Works Director, out there with them on Saturday, kind of adjusting the routes and making sure they're hitting all the neighborhoods, including North Laguna and including Coast Highway. So one crew goes up and down Coast Highway and picking up trash. So that's on the trash side. We are trying to address it. We added new lifeguards right now on most of our beaches underneath the neighborhood program. We're going to have 365 days marine safety present at beaches. We added a new tower, for example, at Mother's Beach in Victoria. And then on all of other beaches, instead of not having lifeguard every day, they're going to be there 365 days a year. So we believe those also address a lot of quality of life issue and bad behavior on beaches. And then we added 2 new police officers to the police department. They're in the middle of recruiting for those. Unfortunately, it takes us like 12 to 18 months to bring in new officers. Oh, and wow. Then I know it's just the training and all that. It's insane. And then we also creating a new position similar like to a park ranger position, where our beach patrol officers can get converted to that position, where those people can still write citations. They're not going to wear a gun, but they're going to have tasers. They're going to have all the tools they need to make sure people are behaving on our beaches. And then if things get exaggerated, and also on our parks and trails, and if things get out of hand, they can call the police department for backup. We're adding additional cameras. I think we're adding 3 more cameras on Main Beach. We added a camera at Table Rock because we had a lot of issues, and that John is very familiar with. And then we added additional beach patrol and marine safety in the evenings for South Laguna beaches. The council set aside $100,000 just for South Laguna beaches, that this summer we're going to add, services in the evenings. So John, those are some of the things that we are trying to do to better mitigate the impacts on quality of life. But you're right, we are loved to death. And I don't know if I can stop people from loving us so much. Let's see, Chris is asking me, with the city's performance on Hotel Laguna, there's a perception that many in Laguna cities are incapable of handling large numbers. Why would you to issue resident that non-permitted work will not be done in future projects? Yeah, so it's very interesting when you have large projects about how much oversight we have. So, if you don't have someone inspecting the work every single day and checking against the plans, how can you make sure all these big projects being done exactly to plan? So Mark Weiner and I are having a lot of conversation about that and see how we can do that differently in the future. But we have, our building inspector and a handful of our building official and a handful of building inspectors. So we are trying to see how we can enhance that to make sure no one's doing work without permits. But I don't have an exact answer for you, Chris, but it's something that me and Mark Weiner are talking about a lot. Let's see, I think I answered all the chat questions. Make sure I didn't ignore anybody. No, I think I did, Anne.
Amazing. Does anyone want to raise their hand to ask a question that you didn't hear covered? Because we've covered an awful lot. Sheree has covered a lot. Okay, so Chris, you have your hand up. You're muted.
Oh, I think
as a follow-up to my question, I guess I'm looking for some specifics. Does it make sense to have an ad hoc committee like what was proposed for the Hotel Laguna to really take a look at these projects and make sure that there is a plan and the plan is followed? Because all we hear are rumors of what's going on in Hotel Laguna, and some of the rumors are not very good. Most, I hope, are not true, but I think we need to have a different way, because like I say, many people in Laguna do not think the city is capable, or at least has not shown the capability to handle these large projects. The Hotel Laguna being a classic example, and that should not have been a large project.
Yeah, Chris, so the Hotel Laguna didn't start it as a large project. It was supposed to be tenant improvements that really didn't require coastal development permit, and it wasn't supposed to introduce any kind of change of use. So I think it was supposed to really stay within a smaller envelope. We weren't working on like a large Hotel Laguna restoration. We were just working on very small component of it. But the ad hoc committee of the council is always great if the council chooses to go that way. But they're not going to be able to manage the day-to-day either. And that's why I was telling you I want to work with Mark Weiner and to make sure that once these projects are permitted, that they are being built per plans. So, and I think that it's more of an oversight from the staff, that we want to make sure that we have that kind of oversight on projects of magnificent. And that's what we need to work on. What kind of resources we need to provide that level of oversight. When we had the ad hoc committee of the council, they were mostly working, they were meeting with the developer and just talking about their big plans for the different projects, but it wasn't, the day-to-day oversight of their projects.
Thank you. I see
I see Ruben.
Oh, okay.
Nice to see you, Ruben. I haven't seen you forever.
Glenna has her hand up, and then Joanna.
Okay.
Hi, Sheree.
Okay, after Ruben.
We had two proposals as far as drawings for both the museum experience and the Clio project.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't come forward as far as coming to fruition. And we know that it takes quite a while for those projects to get approved. Is there a push for the city to request that new drawings be presented so that we can get some development going, at least artistic wise, regarding those two large projects?
Yes, we met with the developer and their attorney team, and we asked for that specifically, Ruben, about, what are your plans? Are you ready to submit? And they said they're working on it, but we haven't seen anything. So it's been the last time you guys saw about like the museum hotel that went to planning commission, that's the last time we saw it. And then the last concept plans we got from Clio that the public saw, that's all we have. And those should be on our website. But yeah, we haven't received nothing more. And that's why the ad hoc committee just went away, because there was really nothing for them to work on,
Thank you, Glenna.
Yes, What about the movie theater? What's going on with that?
Oh yeah, the movie theater is so exciting. So Rivian, who's the electric car company manufacturer, have purchased the movie theater and they got their project approved by the Planning Commission. But I want to say maybe 4 or 5 months ago, and they just pulled permits for demolition. And what they're planning to do is basically renovate and restore the movie theater to its really historic level, including like right now, if you guys remember the movie theater, there's 2 movie theater, but it used to be just 1. So they want to turn it back into 1 movie theater again. And then have the front of the lobby used for education about their cars, and is still use the movie theater in the back and the stage. They want to restore the stage and everything. And then have the theater being open to the public for public uses, for community events. Last time I talked to them, they were even thinking about like showing like Amazon movies there. We are really hoping that they can actually open the building. Their original goal was to open it by end of this year. So I don't know if they're going to make that, but hopefully in early 2022 that you see the building open.
Oh, good.
Thank you. Johanna?
Hi, I have 2 questions. One is, it's my understanding that the Hotel Laguna has not submitted any plans. So, and I would like to know if that's true. I understand that they plan to have either 3 or 4 bars open. And they have no plans to restore the rooms upstairs yet. So I would hope, first of all, I want you to answer the question if there are any plans that they've submitted, and that I would hope that the city would require that the hotel be restored in some way, that it becomes not only a bar scene, but also a hotel. The other question I have is that in the beginning, I forgot what you said, but you had met with about fire and about evacuation. And I'm wondering what plans there are to evacuate the town in the summer with all the people that we have coming into town if there's a fire. I would like to know what the plans are, how we're going to evacuate. Thank you.
Sure. So on the Hotel Laguna, I guess when you say if they submitted plans, so we don't have like architectural drawings or plans.
What do you want to help?
Can everybody hear me? Okay. So we don't have architectural drawings or plans, like our engineering plans for the entire hotel. But what we ask them to do is submit what they have planned to use the hotel for. And so I think that's what we are waiting for from their attorney. We had a meeting, I don't know, Hasti, I want to say 2 or 3 weeks ago. And then their attorney is supposed to basically send us a plan that shows for each one of the areas of the hotel, how they would like to use the area for. So that's what we are waiting for. And then as soon as we get that plan, we can understand what the different uses for the hotel is going to be. And then that would determine what process they need to go through to get all the permits they need for that use, including, conditional use permit, coastal development permit, going to the planning commission, design review, all of that. Heritage committee for historicity, all of that. But at this point, Joanna, I don't know what their plans are for the hotel rooms. I don't know that.
The problem is that they've been working on it. And the city
they're not working in the hotel room. They're not.
I understand, but they have been working on it. with no plan. And I'm wondering how the city allowed that to happen.
Well, what they worked on, they didn't need permit for. Majority of the work that they've done is for renovation of the first floor lobby and the restaurant and the first floor. And that work is all exempt because that work was not changing the use, and it was just restoring what was already there. So that's why, and that doesn't even require coastal development permit, all the work interior on the first floor only. And that's what they've done. But any work outside of that, that's why we put a stop work order, because they were working, for example, on the patio outside. And we told them they needed a coastal development permit, and we issued one. And actually that got appealed to the Coastal Commission, which is going to be heard now. So anything outside definitely requires, but anything that they've done inside on the first floor, it was supposed to be just renovation of the existing places. So that's why. And then I forgot and the evacuation in town. So depend on, where the emergency or the fire is, right? So like we did what I call a tabletop exercise, where we basically work through a scenario. And we look at where the fire is, where the winds are blowing, how fast the winds are. And then we have these evacuation zones that are set up, that we have a map of it on our website. We actually have an evacuation model that we recently completed. So it actually can show you, if you have a fire, let's say at the El Toro and the 73, which zone should you evacuate based on where the wind's blowing, how fast the wind is going, what direction the fire is moving. So depend on that, we would then evacuate, one neighborhood at a time, or depend on the intensity of the fire, it could be multiple neighborhoods at a time. And then depend on the location, you have to evacuate people through Laguna Canyon Road or through Coast Highway. We have to bring in all traffic control personnel in. We also work with the festival on, if you have all these people at the pageant at the master, what do you do with them and how do you evacuate them? So you have to bring in like trolleys, and you may have to ask the OCTA to bring buses to evacuate people from there. So we have this comprehensive plan, but depend on the event, it may change how you do it. But we have multiple scenarios that we are looking, and this modeling, I think it goes to the ADPC, I want to say at their next meeting, we're going to show them the draft of this evacuation model, and then we'll bring it to council after that. That really, it's a great tool because you can model different scenarios and it tells you how to evacuate, and then even shows you like what the impact in the evacuation time is. If you use, if you evacuate this zone first or that zone, or like top of the ward neighborhood, and how do you evacuate that, versus using Park Avenue versus the fire road. And you can model the different scenarios based on that.
Thank you. Jean, I can only see part of the screens. Does anyone else have their hand up?
I have a question.
Oh.
Sheree,
Yeah.
What is the city doing for e-bike and motorized scooter safety?
A lot of education we did at the beginning. We did a video, we sent it. We had, I think, 16 meetings when the schools were actually still, in before they went for the summer. We had the 2 school resource officers going and giving a lot of presentation to kids to teach them how to ride their e-bike safely, wearing helmet, how to obey traffic laws. And then we did this whole pamphlet that we had the school send it to all the parents, because the parents are buying these beautiful bikes, expensive bikes for their kids, but they need to teach them how to use it safely. So we started with that, Jean, as far as education, and now we are at the point that we are switching to enforcement. So just last week, we worked with the police department in all the briefings, and we told them now it's time to write citations. So if people are not obeying the rules, kids not wearing helmets, they're not stopping at stop signs, you need to start enforcement. And I'm sure it's not gonna, we're gonna make a couple of people unhappy here and there because they're not gonna like it. But I think we're still doing a lot of education, but I think enforcement needs to come now with education to make sure that, God forbid, nothing horrible happens,
Is
with
it
one of these
basically that
e-bikes.
an e-bike or a motorized scooter is like an automobile? You're to ride in the
Well,
street, not on the sidewalk. You're to stop for traffic lights and stop signs.
Yep.
You're to signal.
Yeah.
And like a bicycle, for the e-bike.
It's like
is
a bicycle.
helmet.
E-bike is like a bicycle. Yeah, you have to wear a helmet. You cannot, in our town, you cannot ride your bike on any sidewalk. You cannot ride your bike on the boardwalk. You cannot ride your bike in our parks. You cannot put it on the beach at Heisler or Main Beach. So all of those apply to e-bikes as well. And then you have to, obey all the traffic laws, stop at the stop sign, use your signal and all of those things. They apply to them. I think kids are taking it to a different level. And I'm not, we're still researching and see what other communities doing as well, because I don't know if there's any other regulation that we can enforce.
Thank you.
All right, do we have one last question before we let her go? Jean, is there anybody else with their hand up anywhere?
I'd like to, can you hear me? This is Norman Powell talking.
Go ahead, Norman.
Well, I submitted a question
Oh.
yesterday, Anne, and it didn't get asked. And I
I'm
put it down
sorry.
at the bottom of the chat.
Oh, I see it. I see you put one in the chat. The restaurants and for example appear to have increased revenue due to increase in capacity and respecting their costs. The space has been formed by the city from when the promenade was completed. Yeah, so I think once the promenade become permanent, I think we really need to look at how the restaurants and businesses is gonna first of all share the cost of maintaining it. Because there's going to be, a lot, depend on how the design comes up, that we need to make sure it's maintained. And also, we should look and see if there's like a rental fee that the restaurants or businesses should pay for using it. So it's definitely something that we want to look at and see if we can create a fee structure for its use when it becomes permanent. I think during COVID, we did it because everybody was hurting. But now that we're coming out of COVID, we definitely want to look at some kind of a revenue sharing or a lease or a rent option, and definitely help us pay for maintenance.
Thank you. And Sheree, I heard you say when it becomes permanent, but is there going to be a resident survey prior to it becoming permanent?
Well, the council we're going to do the resident survey in fall. So I'm sure one of the questions that the council would like us to hear on there could be the promenade. But the council has already given us direction and approval to start the design of making it permanent. So we are working on the design right now. But that's all the funding that we have. And then we would have to go back to the council with the design, through a whole public input process. We're going to have public meetings and all of that. And then once we have the design and go back to council, then they got to decide if they want to spend the money to make it permanent. But you're right, it's not a done deal. We just have approval for the first phase, which is the community outreach and design.
Was there anything else?
I see another one. It says if bikes are supposed to be on the sidewalk, where the new sidewalk slopes so they don't protect pedestrians. So no. So Janet, on the Temple Hill, oh God, we went through a process with the Temple Hill residents. I was involved in it for a couple of years. So that a slope curb that you see there with the sidewalk is because the residents didn't want to lose their parking spaces. So it's called a rolled curb. It has nothing to do with bicyclists. Is that to make sure we weren't taking parking spaces away. So that's why it's there. It was a design that the residents wanted. So we had, I want to say 5 or 6 different designs, and through public meetings with majority resident, that's the design that was selected.
Well, thank you so much. You have spent a great deal of time with us, and I really appreciate all that you've answered. I know everybody does. I think that there's a lot to learn and do, but you're on your path, and we hope that you will do your best for all of us. And we're very optimistic that things will be going well. And oh wait, where's Hasty? She promised we could see the baby.
Oh yeah, we need to see the baby, Hasty.
Oh yeah, he's not letting go of me as far as feeding goes. So I'm not sure if
All right.
it might not be PG-13. But I will definitely see if I can post a picture of him in the chat so you guys can see a picture of him from
Oh,
earlier
that'd be
today.
cool.
Yeah, I'll do that.
All right. Thank you. And let's give Sheree a round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you
Unmute
so
yourself.
much. Thank you. And please, 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 at any time you want just to talk or vent or say something nice or complain, anything you need, please. I work for all of you. So please just pick up the phone and call me or send me a quick email. I want to be extremely accessible to all of you. That's the promise that I made to the city council, and I made to myself, that I want to be extremely accessible to all of you. So please don't ever hesitate to email me or call me. So, and thanks again for inviting me. I appreciate all of you.
Oh, thank you so much. We really learned a lot. Thank you.
Great. All right. Well, you
Thank
guys
you,
have,
Sheree.
have a great night. All right.
All right.
Thank
Good
you.
night, everybody. Thank you for joining.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Ann.
Thank you. Good meeting. That was so interesting.
It was a good meeting. Yeah,
It was very good.
I'd like to hear what she had to say.
Yep, she's going to have to be working hard. It's a big job.
No, yeah, it is a big job, but it's nice to know that she has some interest in what we're looking at, you know.
And Jean, AKA Meryl Anderson, thank you so much for organizing
Thanks
us.
for setting it up, Jean.
Here to serve.
Oh, thank you. We appreciate it. Good night, everybody.
It was a good meeting. Thanks.
Take care.
Okay, I'm going to end this thing.
Thanks, Jean. We appreciate it.
Bye, Jean.